Okay, it is Thursday, August 22nd here in Washington State. And everybody remember this? I brought it up in a couple of videos or a few videos ago. I don't remember what the fuck I said. Supreme Court strikes down the Chevron ruling curtailing the power of the federal agencies, meaning the EPA, June 28th. And what do we got just a couple days ago? Blam! U.S. Air Force avoids PFA's water cleanup, citing Supreme Court's Chevron ruling. Isn't that amazing how that works? So who's being protected? This is going to affect every case in the future and probably those in the past. Probably to include that East Palestine thing where that train flipped over, where they dragged the tanks and burned it all and poisoned hundreds of thousands or whatever people. And U.S. Air Force is refusing to comply with the order to clean up the water it polluted in Tucson, claiming federal regulators lack authority after the conservative-dominated U.S. Supreme Court overturned the Chevron doctrine. Isn't that just amazing how this shit works? Okay, now we're going to go on to a Richie from Boston clip. Again, this is free. You don't have to send me any money or click on any of my sponsors. But let's see what Richie from Boston has to say about Klaus Schwab. Pause here. Okay, let's play this, I'm guessing, roughly 20-second clip from Richie, and we'll see the truth. And his propaganda, of course.
Monitoring that the entire time since I've been home. And the flood of immigrants coming into our country hasn't stopped whatsoever at all. And I told you that this was all going to break before the elections. And people are like, Richie, you say lots of things. I say lots of things based on the information they lay out. We get out our decoder rings, try to take what they give us and make sense of it. Well, guess what? Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum just said the same thing that I've been saying.
Multiple times. He guaranteed civil war, and I already forget the date, but it didn't happen. Now he's guaranteeing civil war before the election, or on the date of the election, November 5th, but let's roll on. Oh, Carl, let me back up. Schwab's backing him up here.
We get out our decoder rings, try to take what they give us and make sense of it. Well, guess what? Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum just said the same thing that I've been saying. And I'll link this below. This was on the 19th, which was yesterday, 2024. And Klaus Schwab is telling us that there are 4 events that are going to probably happen directly before the election. So this was
sorry. Okay, so he says Klaus Schwab is saying things probably will happen. His title says they will occur. Okay, before the elections. Sorry, I backed up.
19th, which was yesterday, 2024, and Klaus Schwab is telling us that there are 4 events that are going to probably happen directly before the election cycle. What are the odds of that?
What are the odds of that? Let me pause here real quick. Okay, for starters, for anybody that first drives by here, I am not protecting these people. I am not on their side, but we have to stick to fucking facts when these truther channels promote fear porn so they can profit. Matter of fact, Richie's GoFundMe is now up to $16,000. Let's see this is the World Economic Forum site, which is, of course, Klaus Schwab and others. Four global risks to look out for in the post. This is short, but I'm going to go through as fast as possible. Post-pandemic shaped by global risk, unpredictable shock events. Power is dispersing in the post-superpower area. No, it's not. The lingering pandemic, mental health. The bigger one I got out of this, well, they didn't say it here, but how it affected the children, not being able to go to school, wearing masks wearing masks so they could communicate and learn facial features. I mean, it's just bullshit. Global wars, climate, again, the major thing in all this is the climate events. Everything in the countries that know better and have the financial ability to do so, the military ability to do so, are prepping for as this planet keeps dying due to climate change brought on, especially by geoengineering, as this planet dies. And they even mentioned monkeypox here, like Richie did in the last 1 or 2 videos. Oh my God, a new pandemic, and it's just going to break out before the elections or on the day. We got November 5th, Richie's new date. No, there's not going to be no new breakout. There's not going to be no new masking and COVID type shit. And he'll just roll on like all these channels do. I mean, this is just bullshit. Look through this. This is all shit that's going on and been going on. I mean, this is just general speak like they do in these fucking things. I mean, no, just go Google that yourself and look for it. A big election year won't stop our recurrent crisis of course it's not. We've had this bullshit going on forever, the left versus right agenda. And yes, again, I don't give a shit what fucking people say. There are two agendas underneath the New World Order people, and they're fighting amongst each other just like gangsters and fucking everybody else does. A more complex global mental health crisis. Of course, they created all sorts of shit as intended underneath COVID, and that's going to keep growing. And this involves everything from the shit we eat affecting people's brains, affecting your DNA, so you have kids, and their kids are fucked up mentally, and the shit we breathe and everything else. I mean, it's just fucking insane. An era of shock events. Make no mistake, a U.S. poet warned it a while ago, blah, blah. America's 24 election won't change. Of course not. It's not going to change shit. It's not supposed to change shit. Not in our benefit, anyway. Oh, new global extremist group emerges. Of course, they can make up everything like they've created Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Saddam, Bin Laden. Cyber pandemic that is intentional. Of course it'd be intentional, but it'd be intentional from our end. You know, the U.S. New World Order agenda, especially. Climate change claims its first island. It's already done that. Go look up, pull up Islands Lost or Lands Lost on YouTube and watch all the wonderful videos of shit that's just been lost to sea rise. It's fucking insane, these people that deny that sea rise shit. And Richard one from Boston's a prime one. Let me pause here. Okay, this is kind of sloppy, but I got to read through some of my notes on this shit here. Shit's going to happen or has happened. Biden dropped out to the planned, obvious setup stage Kamala Harris coup. October 7th, Hamas, Israel staged a false flag event, the Chevron ruling, the Olympic trans stuff. Of course, was that was that intentional on some people involved in the trans issue and some people involved in the Olympic Committee? Yes. But there's people you got to realize, because we know it, because these channels, and I see people comment and say it all the time, the large majority of this country believes this shit. Whether they're part of the left or the right agenda, they believe this shit. But again, I don't give a shit what you enjoy your trans stuff. Be gay, be bi, get your fucking sex changed, leave the kids out of it. Let's move on. The Windows issue. This was done on purpose because what did Rich and all these channels say when they had this thing with the Windows? It affected plane flights and all 911s and all this shit in different countries. Oh, they keep they're testing. They know what the fuck they're doing. They don't need to test shit. That was a major. And this is what I say over. They continue prepping for events necessary to adjust to shortages. That's what's going on. Okay. Number one, I've said for fucking years, people that have been listening to me since I started on YouTube up to 6 years ago. The number one, every time you see the news media come out with something that may happen, every time you see social media site, especially our beloved truthers on YouTube and BitChute come out and say this is going to happen, the number one thing you have to ask yourself, and forget other countries, number one thing you have to ask yourself, is it going to create mass chaos or cause the US of A to fall apart? If so, it will not happen. And I want to add number two to it, which I wrote down because I forgot. Can whatever the event that might happen or actually does happen be to cover for especially the USA, but any other major country that knows what's going on with the climate engineering, the climate crisis, because of the engineering, the geoengineering, the chemtrailing, will it benefit that country to recover for themselves like food shortages, which goes back to the Democrats, with Kamala Harris, her people saying we need to be ready to do price fixing so people can't do price gouging, which is which is already happening. We see them big time because of the food shortages. They will not say as the prices go up as food shortages. They say it's blah. Okay, all these anti-censorship people, like Richie just said, he doesn't allow comments because of the kind of comments he gets, and people do the same thing. For how many, remember just a few years ago, they used to preach from the loudest rooftop, if you do not like something, change your radio channel, change your TV channel, yet they want censorship of the left, the right, the trans stuff, anything else you could, the Jewish stuff, anything else you could throw up, but they don't want to hear, well, change the fucking channel, right? But no, that doesn't count. Okay, let me pause here. My little note here says, not trying to take over, complete censorship, confiscate guns, open FEMA camps. Because what is all this? It's all distraction. It's all diversion as the real event goes on behind the scenes, which is everything's falling apart. They've known this for who knows how fucking long. Apparently, like that document I showed that Dane Wigington brought up, since shortly before Vietnam, all these countries were already involved, including China, Russia, Germany, and I believe it mentioned the UK in that PDF on that document that they were already doing all this climate engineering and knew it was how it was going to affect animals, plant life, soil, and us. Let me pause here. Okay, what did I just see this morning looking at the CNN and the Fox sites? Teamsters Union Railroad on strike, British Columbia. 2 major freight railroads shut down their operations, 9,000 members, affect Canada, Pacific Northwest, U.S. Trains coming and going from U.S., Canada. Where are there videos out there? Oh my God, look how they're doing this to affect the food supply and other supply, blah, blah, blah. Where's the videos? This was a false flag or intentional to kill these people. Body, British Tech, Mike Lynch, I don't know who the fuck he is, but he's some sort of big guy over there. His 18-year-old daughter was killed, others, 15 survivors. Prominent lawyer. Here's one. Richie's got his How about GoFundMe this guy? And this applies to any GoFundMe that would be legitimate, anything than Richie from Boston, so he continue his travels and not getting a job. He was stabbed in the arm while doing a minor thing to attempt to stop a shoplifter, so he was fired. He's got it. This was just started yesterday, 165 of 10,000. This is a biggie, so pay attention because this involves Project 2025. I keep seeing these commercials on these streaming apps we have, Freedom from Religion Foundation, but let's see what it has to say. Oh, what did I want to cut? This eventually actually started in 2016. I showed that before. The Christian nationalists trying to take over, and it's not about as far as you get when you get into the White House and get over there in Washington D.C., they do not give a flying fuck about Christian beliefs. That's the power and control. It's a dictatorship. Of course, the Heritage Foundation. I'm not going to go through all this, but there's something else I want to show here. Okay, I'm just gonna, that way you can pause and read this. Mandatory religious exemptions from accreditation standards and criteria for private schools. That's not the bigger deal. What did I want here? Oh, here we go. 25 calls on the FDA to limit and then eliminate access to the anti-abortion, the abortion pill. They tried that just recently, but they realized it wasn't going to fly, but that's coming. The Comstock Act would ban use for males for abortion efficiency, in other words, the abortion pill. And they want to eliminate climate. They want to eliminate talking about climate change and paperwork on TV, anything. You have to go see how this is explained. They don't want to talk about. They just want to eliminate. They want to eliminate talking about climate change, i.e., geoengineering, i.e. chemtrailing, i.e. the planet is dying. And then it gets into what just happened. It happened, and this is already on their site. They want to eliminate the power of the EPA, gutting, favoring drilling, public land, but all this other shit that's going on now. Anyway, go. I mean, it's just fucking astonishing what's going on right now, and they have to eliminate this EPA stuff because countries like the U.S. is already doing it. They have to become more self-sufficient as shortages continue because the planet's dying. Dead trees around the world are shocking scientists. We can't figure out why they're dying. We should have better answers by now. Climate scientists baffled by unexpected pace of heating. And this is all new shit. All-time records shattered as Canada's weather turns upside down. A little explanatory. Montreal trudged through its wettest day on record. of course, as these places are also getting their hottest. Record heat bathes the Arctic Circle at or above 35 C. I'm gonna have to hang on. I'll have to Google 37 C. I forgot what that was. It was like 98 degrees. This year has been dead. Where have Britain's insects gone? The upshot is scientists don't know for sure what's driving ocean temperatures, record-breaking territory. Oh, I thought I had a second shot of that, but what was the big one in this one? Butterflies, flies, and moths disappearing. Before I get 37C up there is 98.6 degrees, almost 100 degrees up north. Nothing to see here. And what did they have Biden get out and say to keep this shit going between Israel and Palestine? Biden out there saying the anti-Israel mob outside, they have a point. Boy, that just stirred them fuckers up, didn't? Of course, we got the mobs out there and all their ninja gear that are paid people to go ahead and keep disruptions and diversions and distractions going. Pause here. Let's see a clip from Mr. Vance, our potential vice president. Let's see what he has to say here about gun controller rights.
Go ahead, Senator Merrill Cornfield from the Washington Post. I have a policy question for you. We don't want to talk about policy?
Look at that goofy fucking look.
Before you were in the Senate, there was the vote on the Violence Against Women Act. And one of the hiccups with negotiating that bill was, should people who are convicted of stalking be able to possess firearms? What do you think about that?
Well, look, I think that we certainly don't want violent criminals to have access to weapons. And that includes people, I think, who have been convicted of stalking. But I think it's important to say...
Really? Does the Constitution say that? Did you ever do an amendment about that? If you're convicted of stalking, you can't have a firearm for fucking what? Even my charges, even old Richie from Boston has done prison time. Should we be able to have a firearm when we got out and we finished probation parole? Hell fucking yeah, we should. But what'd they do? They went and passed acts against that shit back in the early 1900s when people didn't fucking know better because there was no social media. And that was hopefully I think I got screenshots of that. Let's go.
Convicted. And what a lot of those of us who are pro Second Amendment, what we don't want is, we don't want somebody to have their gun rights taken away when they haven't actually been to court of law, right? Whether it's a First Amendment right, a Second Amendment right, any right, you are entitled to due process in this country. And so the criticisms that I've seen of that are not that certainly
due process says your right to bear arms shall not be infringed. They just didn't put in parentheses what's so fucking ever. But let me pause here. That may or may not be it. Okay, all sides are involved in Israel going after Palestine. But let's listen to this Fox clip.
Jewish-hating anti-Israel protesters were waving flags of Hamas terrorists. They support Hamas savages who attacked Israel on October 7th, killing more Jews since Hitler's Holocaust.
Oh my God, they killed more Jews since Hitler, and that's I can't get into that because I want to post this on YouTube. The false flag, supposedly and allegedly, 1,200 Israelis were killed or kidnapped or raped, and of course now they lie about the figures. I'm sure it's well over 100,000 in Palestine, and they will come to a, I should say they could. I think they will eventually come to a peace agreement once they figured out and realized they got to a certain number of all the younger kids over there, the boys and the girls they've killed. Because as those doctors have showed, and every fucking one of them over there, all those American doctors and nurses signed a letter to the Biden administration. We're getting all these fucking teens and preteens with bullets right in their fucking head or their chest. Because that's what that's what you do in war. But let me see here. Okay, look, this is not hard to figure out whatsoever. As I have been saying for the longest time, and as these channels don't like to address regularly or hardly ever fucking all is the climate crisis, is the climate change, is the weather changing, is the planet dying. And yes, that's predominantly brought about by the geoengineering and the nuke plants and the shit they've been dumping in the oceans and everything. But you have to, number one, look at everything that's going on with countries, look at every move they make. And like I said, number one, is it going to create crisis, and is it what create this country to fall apart? If it's so, they won't do it. But the thing is, look at the moves that any country makes, and especially our country, because this is the country we live in. Look at what they do. How will it affect any sort of food stuff whatsoever with moves they make in other countries and all that? Or as the case in Israel, they got to protect that base, and they're making that anti-missile, ballistic missile base radar thing fucking whatsoever bigger and stronger, which is why they had to push Hamas Palestine back, had to push the Houthis back, had to push Yemen back, and now they're acting like they want to start sending drones over and shit and bombing Iran. That's all there is to that. That was not hard to figure out. You just got to quit listening to the propaganda from the left, the right, the media, the truthers, the social media sites. Just forget that and look at what's going on. It's exactly like looking at what's going on with the weather as what geoengineering watch.org from Dane Wigington's been talking about for up to 15 fucking years. Everything Dane Wigington has ever said has come true. And he finally quit predicting dates, because you can't predict dates. Even with the out-of-control weather loops, even with them or without them, you can't predict dates, because as shit falls apart, they're still trying to spray shit to stop it, slow it down, or divert it to other countries or bring it to ours, and so on and so forth, because that's what they do. And anyway, just pay attention. Everything that the U.S. is doing on the U.S. end of the New World Order agenda is about getting enough people to survive over here to go out and take over the fucking wastelands. That's what it comes down to, like all the prepper groups, as I've said before. What's the point of all these prepper militia groups? They want to survive and come out and take over after everything falls apart, right? But the thing is, when they come out of their cubes and their tunnels and their bunkers or whatever, even if you need to go underground, who are they going to be fighting? They're not going to be fighting the government. They're not going to be fighting Washington, D.C. They're going to see, as we see in all these science fiction apocalyptic movies ever made, they're going to be fighting over each other over their little piece of territory. And as we see in all these apocalyptic movies, their leaders will not be able to unite with the other leaders of another commune, another group, another military group, another survivor group, because their leaders don't want to give up the power to the other leaders, and their leaders don't want to combine their power with the other leaders and have peace and keep growing and take over the country, and let's get rid of the government controls and bullshit we had before. That's exactly how it will go when we get that far, which will happen, because they cannot prevent this planet from continuing to die and going who fucking knows how long it. I should say that I think the human species and every life form on this planet could go extinct, because as Dane Wigington's been talking about for years, we are heading into Venus syndrome, and it doesn't look like they can stop it. But these prepper groups, the survival groups, they're going to take it back and take the country back for it. Well, there's no country to take back if everything died, and they're going to be fighting each other. If you're in fucking, I'm in Washington State, let's pick a little closer. Let's pick Colorado. If you have this group of 1,000, 2,000 people, and they have to fight their way all over come on, it's fucking stupid. End of this one.